Good afternoon and welcome to our news broadcast. This is Prime 254 TV. My name is Keith Kitonga and this is what we have lined up for you. Live from Prime 254 TV, this is Story Stream. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Keith Kitonga and I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes. You can join our conversation by sending in your views on our social media handles at StoryStream. Use the hashtag StoryStream and tag me at Keith Nyaga. On to our first story. In search of greener pastures, with the high cost of living in Kenya, Kenyan citizens are catching flights to financial freedom, with everything becoming expensive and the lack of employment in the country makes it hard to provide and cater to their needs. Our reporter with more. In studio, we are joined by a specialist as we discuss matters of international migration, its challenges and benefits. Welcome and kindly introduce yourself.
My name is Mayan Shamasirima, Foreign Policy and Migration Specialist.
What key economic, social, and political factors do you believe are driving the increasing numbers of Kenyans to seek employment and opportunities abroad, and how are these trends shaping Kenya's domestic labor market?
Well, that's a good question. It's an interesting one. Okay, I feel as though, rather I believe that these greener pastures, let me put it this way, the labor market abroad has been a bit scathed when it comes to manual labor. And I think because of that, and I don't mean to be crass with this, but with the level of education and the amount of manual labor that is available here in Kenya, the competition becomes very stiff here, and you end up finding a lot of people are unemployed. However, abroad, there's a very big want and demand for manual labor in that space. So people do tend to travel abroad to look for greener pastures in that aspect. At the same time, with the economies abroad in different states and with better economies, the pay is also better for the same manual labor. And because of that, it creates a very large desire for most people to want to go and work abroad. As for the political aspect of it, I believe different relationships to different states and the politics that exist within those two states do not heavily negate exactly where people will go. It always focuses on the demand and the opportunity that exists there. So because of that, you'll find a lot of private sector actors also come and intervene and create that connection between one space, one state or another. And that's where you find Kenyans across the world, not just necessarily within one state or another.
From your perspective, what are the most significant challenges Kenyan migrants face when relocating to a foreign land, and how is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs working to protect their rights and ensure their well-being is okay?
I think there was a space once upon a time where the issue of the passports was a very large discussion. However, with a lot of intervention, I don't believe that is an issue at the moment. Those are some of the steps and measures that Kenya has taken to protect their citizens abroad. At the same time, the development of the diaspora affairs within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has greatly helped in engagement with Kenyans abroad specifically. Not just focusing on foreign relations and trade and so on and so forth, but the diaspora affairs focuses on the needs and wants of the Kenyans abroad. As for the preparation, and within the diaspora affairs are set preparations for them beforehand, safety trainings and so on that help them when traveling and to better protect themselves and to better empower themselves. Together with embassies, the ministry has also taken various steps and continues to adjust to the different risks and threats that exist out there.
How are bilateral and multilateral agreements influencing the migration landscape for Kenyans, and what specific measures are being implemented to create a safer and more beneficial migration pathways?
Um, Within the bilateral and the multilateral treaties, these treaties help engage better with the policies that one will that, that exists within the migration and within the, how do I say, within the understanding of the purpose of migration and so on. Why I'm saying this is because these treaties also help with matters such as extradition treaties. You'll find that within a bilateral agreement, there's an extradition agreement whereby if one is found guilty of one or two things within the national law of the resident state, then within that they'll be able to be brought back to be to face their sentence here. So bilateral agreements, of course, also help us in a space of agreeing with the state that they're going to, that this is how we want our citizens treated, protected, and so on and so forth. These are some of the expectations that one state has, and so on and so forth within the two states. In the past, there's been spaces where there have been some hiccups, again with the Middle East incidents and so on. However, again with diplomatic negotiations and relations, you tend to rectify, just like any legal document, you tend to rectify and adjust and to any new threat that desires to pop up.
Considering the growth flow of the remittances from Kenyan migrants, how do you see this trend balancing with the brain drain and local employment challenges, and what strategies can be adopted to harness these remittances for national development?
Okay, remittances. I like that topic. I won't touch on the brain drain topic. It's been a bit of a sore spot. However, on the matter of remittances you find are in the billions of in terms of financial flow. And recently, I believe they were able to surpass foreign direct investments. I believe there have been so many steps that the government has taken to at least better cater to ease of remittance flow. With recently M-Pesa partnering with entities such as PayPal, which now creates an ease of access, cheaper remittance flow, and so on at lower cost. And because of that, you'll find that if somebody sends about $100, instead of using bank transfers, which would take about a day or two to actually process, it's instant. And of course, with the lower flows, it encourages more remittance flow into the states. Of course, now with that, if the government, or in some spaces the government has reduced the taxation on remittances, again, encourages more flow, helps build the purchasing power of the individuals who are receiving these remittances, and also helps with being included in the financial markets and so on. With this, it empowers businesses to venture and start up. It encourages, because remittances not only exist with financial, they also exist with ideas and cultural remittances and so on. With these, you'll find that's where we have aspects such as Swahili restaurants popping up all over the world, or we have a Chinese restaurant here being owned by a Kenyan. It's the power of remittances, and with that, it also helps, of course, empower businesses and empower economy in the long run.
Yeah.
Looking
So looking ahead,
what role
what
do
role do
international
international partnerships and innovative migration policies play in managing the influx of Kenyan migrants, and how can this collaboration contribute to both protecting migrants'
and
rights
how can
and creating
these
sustainable
collaborations
employment
contribute to
opportunities at
both
home?
protecting migrants' rights and creating sustainable employment opportunities at home?
Well, okay. For one, global partnerships and global relations, I believe for me, are the keystone of the international world. You will find a space where I strongly believe that the states, of course, being the entity, the baseline of international relations and so on, is the best representative and the best approach to better facilitate for migration policies and migration protection. Because other than that, away from that, you don't have an international governing body that focuses on migration. Rather advisories that help create migration policies, but can't focus on each specific, for example, Kenyan migrants specifically. And away from that, you find like you said, what's in the migration rights, or the human rights. I believe those are focused in every government. Within a lot of international law, many of them have also been integrated into national law, such as human rights. And I believe those focus only just not from migrants alone, but also every single human being that exists. For sustainable employment, I think also with a lot of, I'll use an example of the Czech Republic that recently visited Kenya, not recently, a few years ago. But through the partnership and the investment, they better helped empower Kenya and Kenyans who are seeking employment in certain industries. In the long run, the businesses that they've invested in, the spaces of which they've invested in Kenya have created small aspects of job opportunities here and there. However, nothing grand, for lack of a better term. However, the small spaces whereby each and every state, or each and every partnership and agreement has helped contribute to such employment, also created a space where you've empowered, again, and businesses again rising and so on. A lot of integration and remittances and so on. As to sustainable employment, I think that's I'd leave to somebody who's more specialized on sustainability. For me, I'd focus on how the foreign market or the foreign world has better helped invest in creation of employment and job opportunities here.
Joining me now is our correspondent, Faith Kasina. Faith, what's your comment?
As Kenyans venture abroad in search of greener pastures, it underscores the urgent need for comprehensive economic reforms at home. While overseas employment offers immediate relief for some, sustainable solutions to unemployment and the high cost of living are essential for the nation's long-term prosperity.
Thank you, Faith, for your report.
You are much welcome, Keith. My name is Faith Kasina, reporting live in Nairobi. Back to you in studio.
On to our other story. Rent, relocate, or build. As the housing crisis deepens in Kenya, many families find themselves grappling with high rents, inadequate housing options, and the looming threat of eviction. This dire situation compels many into considering on relocating to peri-urban areas or rather, they try and build their own homes. Looking ahead, do you foresee rent stabilization measures being implemented in Kenya, or will market forces continue to dictate prices?
I don't see prices for the houses being stabilized because of the foreign issues. Number one, population is still growing.
Yeah.
The moment the population of people in Kenya is growing, it means people will continue increasing, and demand for the house will continue increasing. That's what I am by unable to stabilize the prices for the houses.
Yeah.
Number two, we thought the government, the moment the government came up with housing levy, they will be able to build houses which can be afforded, is available for low income learner, though the mama mbogas and the watu wa boda boda.
Yeah.
But the way things are looking at, it is not possible because the mama mbogas and the mama mbogas, they are not able to even meet their demand for their families.
Yeah.
So I don't see prices being stabilized. They can only be stabilized. They will be dictated by demand and supply in the market. But my take is this on that. If government can be able to build many houses, and especially in government land, which I know, and it's not a must they build those houses in Nairobi. they can build them outside Nairobi and outside major towns, whereby the population require those houses. We can be able to stabilize a bit of it. But it cannot be stabilized because of the demand and the supply in the market.
Well, thank you, Mr. Njoy, for your time. Thank you even for joining me in studio. And your intake has been much appreciated.
Allow me to make a comment.
Yeah.
Because
well, to come up with a housing project, first of all, it is important to identify the need. When you have the need, then it is also possible for you to measure the quantity that is required. And then after that, you need to be able to face your project depending on the need, so that you don't have the project exploring in so many areas, and therefore attracting a lot of attention and resources which may not meet the amount that is required to see the project to its completion. So in a nutshell, I would say that we needed more studies to identify the need and identify the areas where these projects can be located.
We'll be going for a short commercial break. Coming next, we'll be having several discussions about climate change and how joining forces with other countries on a common goal helps. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Send in your views and comments at our social media handles at StoryStream. Use the hashtag StoryStream and tag me at Keith Nyaga. Stay tuned.
Pens that are, well, just a write-off? Say goodbye to frustration and hello to Kalamu. Watch those disappointing pens drop away as you finally find the one pen that writes it right every time, where sleek design meets top-notch performance. When you choose Kalamu, you choose better. So why settle for less? Write it right with Kalamu. Available at supermarkets and shops countrywide.
Welcome back. You are watching Prime 254 TV and this is StoryStream. On to our other stories. Code red for Mother Earth. As global temperatures rise and environmental challenges escalate, Kenya stands at a critical juncture in addressing climate change. While some stakeholders are heeding the call for urgent action, Others remain indifferent. Our reporter delves into the pressing climate issues facing our nation.
The beautiful thing about tech is its broad use cases and abilities, and it transcends each and every industry, starting from drug and substance abuse, going all the way to healthcare, going all the way to financial inclusivity. However, when it comes to a specific industry like renewable energy, we have seen a lag in the adoption of technology. The industry is more focused on equipment as the tech driver within the space, and it hasn't seen a good or robust feeling the adaptability with the people. So personally, being in the space renewable energy and trying to create a blueprint for how tech could be used, I would say there is a lot of work to be done. And even more so, I believe it's with the age gap or the age set that is within the industry, especially in renewable energy. And I will give an example. So I myself am very young, building in renewable energy and tech specifically. The adoption rate of our solution is very slow simply because the market is filled with, I would say, people who are beyond our age, or as we're allowed to say, beyond the millennials, so the Gen X. And to them, technology within the space is quite foreign. So meaning the adoption of such technologies as ours is at an all-time low. And my recommendation or my viewpoint would be, we need more young people within these spaces. I haven't seen so many young people within the renewable energy space, maybe because there is not much hope within the space, or there is not so much of information of what the potential is within the space. It is young people such as us who can see what technology can do in each and every field, spanning from healthcare all the way to renewable energy as an industry. So my encouragement is to more young people who have these futuristic tech minds. It is for them to come in and show the industry that this could be possible. I am a testament, I am an example, and I tell you for a fact it's doable and it's possible. And technology is the way forward.
The government has done a good job in releasing various policy statements.
Yeah.
We have the National Adaptation Plan. We have the Climate Change and Health Policy, which is about 2 years old. And then we have just a general policy on climate change and the environment, which also has also helped in guiding the efforts of the government towards solving climate change. And such solutions are like the tree planting exercise that is ongoing. And then also other mitigation strategies like investing in insecticide-treated nets, drainage of water, swamps, and other stagnant water sources that lead to increased cases of mosquito-related infections, and so on and so forth.
Africa Climate Summit. Africa unites to fight climate change. Leaders, activists, and innovators gather in Nairobi for the Africa Climate Summit, seeking homegrown solutions to a global crisis. Our reporter with more.
First of all, this is a very controversial question, especially because one who has tried building a platform that is transparent has seen the key challenges and the key gaps needed by everyone to get us there. And I also put this out there saying that my truth is not necessarily the truth that is out there. And my truth is, number one, those who suggested the carbon markets are the ones who are having the biggest emissions. Those who are financing the carbon markets are the ones who have the biggest emissions. Those who have the green projects to be put into the carbon markets are us Africans, and our voices are less and less heard on these same matters. Now, Your question is, how do we manage to build carbon tracking systems and innovations that bring in transparency?
Yeah.
The key solution that I have at my heart is Africans need to build these systems for themselves, for others to adopt. Why I say so? Africa has the largest carbon sinks in the world. Africa has the largest renewable energy potential in the world. Africa has the largest natural resources in the world. And all these resources are what we will use to fight climate change. All these resources are what are things needed to be put in as carbon projects to be added onto the carbon markets.